And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. That's right. It's a weird show. That means it's Tell Al Tuesday. And guess what? I have what I consider a very, I'm going to use the word very one more time, special guest on today's show. This is my son, Jonathon Gordon. He's going to be on my show today, and we're going to spend some time getting caught up. If you're a longtime listener of this radio show, you know that Jonathon and I started a path of real estate investing where we were going to get involved with syndicating real estate deals to other members. He was going to step up and be the lead investor. In other words, the guy that basically oversees the entire deal. I was going to step up as the management arm. I would build the management company and I would operate the management company. Together, we would invest in real estate and we would allow other Lifestyles Unlimited members to invest with us so that they get the benefit of the types of returns that we were looking to achieve. We were ready to go. We had a game plan laid out. We were educated, we had met with our mentors, we had based our game plan on what our goals and objectives were. We were going to buy some multifamily real estate. We were going to rehab that real estate. We were going to do all the things necessary to make that real estate functional again and to make it profitable again. And then in October of 2021, Jonathon got some news that changed the whole trajectory of what he was going to do. See, Jonathon is a member of the military. He is a first lieutenant in the Texas Army National Guard. Now, those of you that don't understand what the Texas Army National Guard is, it is a component of the United States Army. The only difference between being in the United States Army and being in the Texas Army National Guard is really who you work for. See, when you're in the National Guard, you work for the governor of your state. When you're in the United States Army, you work for the president. And the neat thing about these National Guardsmen is they could work for either one of those two types of people. They're the only component of the military that can work for a governor of the state and then be federalized and work for the president. Kind of an interesting scenario, unless you have plans to be a lead investor, in which case the governor in October of 2021 called up the entire Texas National Guard, both the Army assets and the air assets, and he mobilized all of those people down to the border. Now, why did the governor of Texas do that? It's because the country is being overrun on the border. I mean, just turn on the news. Even major news networks now are starting to cover it. We have millions of people flooding into the United States. You either agree with it or you don't agree with it. But at the end of the day, the governor of the state of Texas, he did not agree with it. And because he has the authority, he mobilized his National Guard assets and he put them down on the border. So what happened to John and I? Well, we went into hurry up and wait mode. As a matter of fact, we had to change our investing trajectory because we weren't quite sure how long this deployment was going to take. The initial game plan was this could be a 2-year event. And then we heard, well, maybe it's only a year. And when Jonathon received his orders, those orders were for a long period of time. And we thought, okay, we have to switch gears with what we're doing with real estate investing. So we decided not to go forward with the lead investing. We decided to go back to being passive investors, which is something we had already done as real estate investors. We invested with other Lifestyles Unlimited members, and we made that decision to take our money, go passive while we waited out this military service obligation. Now, along the way, Jonathon's unit was activated on the federal side. So what does that mean? It means he went from being on active duty on the border to being on active duty on the federal side, and he found himself in the Middle East. And he was in the Middle East for the last 9 months. Not too long ago, Jonathon had the opportunity to finally come home. Now, he's still on military orders. He's still on military duty. He'll be on that military duty for at least another month. So he's still doing some things with the military, but he's trying to decompress. He's trying to get his head back into the real estate investment world. And today, you have the privilege of getting inside the mind of a 25-year-old that went into harm's way to protect your freedoms, who also has a desire to change the trajectory of his life to get himself retired before the age of 30. And you know what? This kid is on track. This kid is going to get it done. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a proud papa. I'm saying that because this kid is not really a kid at all. This kid is a man, and this man knows what he's doing. So with no further ado, let me invite my son, Jonathon, onto the show. Jonathon, how you doing today? Are you recovered from your deployment yet?
Oh, I'm getting there. It's nice to be back home now.
I bet you. So tell me, what are the three biggest things that you appreciate about being back home?
Oh, man, it's going to sound real weird, but not showering with shoes, not having to walk outside to use the bathroom, and having my own place to sleep.
You mean the Army doesn't put you up in a hotel room when you're in a combat zone?
Nope, they do not.
Are you saying that the Army's really bad at providing clean, functional housing for people?
Yes, terrible.
Terrible. Okay. But you know how to provide clean, functional housing for people the correct way, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Best product, best price.
Where did you learn how to do that?
All my education through Lifestyle.
Before the governor made the decision to essentially change the trajectory of your life back in 2021, what was your game plan to get yourself retired in the next 5 years back in 2021?
Oh, so that's a fun one. So I was still finishing up college, still doing Army, still doing all the fun jobs and stuff like that, but saving up money so I could start into my first lead investment deal. I was going to target around anywhere from a 50 to 100 unit apartment complex just so I can get management on it and ride that out for 2 to 5 years, see where that went. After that, sell it and move on to another bigger, better property.
And along the way, I think you also had plans to get that first property stabilized, figure out a way to generate even more money so that you could get into that second property. Was that part of the game plan?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and the conversations that we had really revolved around how do we help you generate cash flow? How do we help you increase your equity in your assets? How do we get you retired before the age of 30? And you had put together a pretty remarkable plan. I mean, you were on track to get this thing going. And then tell me what it felt like when the governor notified you in October of 2021 that everything you had planned to do, you were no longer allowed to do.
Yeah, it's a loaded question, but it was pretty irritating. It basically derailed my entire plan. So then I had to put it on pause. And the market does not like to wait for one person. So it's all about supervision and refinement.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. So what did your new game plan become? I mean, what I did with my money is I said, okay, we're not going to inject the money into, what you were putting together. We'll just invest passively in other deals. Did you follow the same path, or did you choose to do something a little different?
Yeah, so found a little property deal that I went through and read through all the paperwork and decided that was the deal I wanted to do, especially since I was leaving for about a year. So might as well have my money sitting somewhere in a nice property instead of just sitting in a bank account where it's going to do absolutely nothing. It's been sitting there for a little over year 2 now. So the property's doing pretty well.
What's the outlook for that property? What was it about that particular asset that caused you to invest in it? What's it going to do for you?
This particular property is going to double the amount of money that I put into it by the end of sale.
And when do you think that's going to happen?
So probably at year 3 on the property, and we're just into year 2.
So let me get this straight, and let me make sure the audience understands what you're saying. You invested in a multifamily apartment community just before you left. It was a 3-year trajectory to double your money. So in other words, how much money did you put into that deal? Are you comfortable disclosing that?
Yes, I put about $80,000 into that deal.
So at the end of year 3, you anticipate getting $160,000 back?
Correct.
And how much work are you having to do?
Nothing.
What's that?
I've done no work other than a little bit of reading.
That's it. And you're going to double your money in 3 years.
Yep, because I trusted the individual doing the property, and I agreed with their business plan. So.
Oh, I see. I think that's a key point there. You agreed with their business plan. So you didn't try and change your business plan or your goals and objectives to make the deal work. You found a deal that actually worked in conjunction with what you were trying to accomplish.
Oh, absolutely.
So why go after a deal like that? Why not go after a deal that would provide maybe a lot of cash flow and potentially double your money in 5 to 6 years?
So the reasoning behind that is I already have a job, so I'm already getting cash flow. So I don't really need the cash flow at the moment. So might as well stick it in a asset that's going to double my money in 3 years, which I don't have to work for, so I don't even have to think about it. So while I'm collecting cash flow from a paycheck or a job just over broke, I'm also slowly doubling my money over 3 years.
I wonder how many other 25-year-olds out there are doing exactly what you're doing. How many of your friends are doing what you're doing?
One.
How many friends do you have?
How many states are there? Not sure.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of states. So I guess the point I'm getting at is you just don't have one friend. You've got a lot of friends, but only one friend that you have is actually doing what you're doing, correct?
Correct.
And how did this friend of yours find out about this real estate investing stuff?
He found out about it through me, and I believe yourself as well. Talking about it, they liked the idea. And since he enjoyed the idea, he started investing himself, and I believe he just finished his first single-family deal.
Oh, you're talking about Joey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah, he did go after his first single-family deal. I understand that deal didn't pencil out. You know, it's kind of interesting about that particular deal because I was talking to his dad, Bruce, and when they did the analysis on that thing, it turns out that property was going to require an extra like $30,000 in rehab over and above what they thought needed to be done. And as a result of that, they stepped away from the deal because the deal it didn't pencil. But how many 25-year-olds do you know have the wherewithal to go into a real estate deal, find out that it isn't exactly what it was supposed to be, and then have the wherewithal to step away from the deal and then get back in the hunt and look for another deal?
No, none. A lot of people I've talked to, a lot of my friends, it doesn't interest them. They think it's scary. I keep telling them it's not scary. It's pretty easy. Just understand what you're doing, make sound decisions, and go about your day. It's just money with extra zeros. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So, ironically, you were in a military environment for the last year and a half. What is the mindset regarding retirement in the military? What is it they advise you to do there?
Oh, I want you to put in what they have called a TSP, their savings plan. It's essentially just a fancy way of saying 401k.
It's the military's version of it, right?
Yeah, it's the federalized 401k, essentially. It's terrible. I don't like it. Everyone's like, well, they match up to 5% of what you put in. I'm like, I don't care. I can't touch it until I'm like 55 or whatever it is. It's just sitting in a savings account the government gets to pay for with my money, and I don't utilize it.
So how many people thought you were nuts when you explained to them while you were on military duty what your investing strategy was?
Oh, I've dimed myself out as a crazy person because I decided I wanted to go against the flow of everyone else.
So everybody thinks you're nuts. Everybody thinks that everything that you're doing is not going to prepare you for the future. And ironically, they just don't know what you and I know. It's an amazing thing. That TSP, yeah, if you're doing it in the military, there's a much better way for you to get retired. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the real estate investing career of Jonathon. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
Successful Lifestyles Unlimited member retires in 10 months.
The hardest part for me was to drop off my son, go to a job that I absolutely hated for 5 years, but know that that was a sacrifice that I needed to make, and then only be able to get to spend 2 hours with him after school before he had to go back to bed. So that's why once we started and we joined Lifestyles, we said, okay, we have a roadmap. We know what we're gonna do. And then a month later, we find out we're pregnant with baby number 2, and we're like, okay, we gotta kick it up a notch. So that's how we were able to purchase 4 different properties and replace in 10 months, replace my income in 10 months so that whenever I finished maternity leave, I didn't have to go back to work.
I think a couple weeks before baby came out is when we closed on our fourplex, and that was enough for her not to have to go back to work.
Are you ready for your roadmap to real estate retirement? Attend the online free workshop, just like Carolina did. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. So, Jonathan, why choose a real estate investing career over a military career? I mean, that military career, it pays you stable money. It could give you opportunity with that TSP. Isn't that enough to keep you going?
By the time I'd do a military retirement, get my TSP, I'd have to calculate how much money I have in said TSP and burn through that before I die.
So potentially in 6 months, you could be called back to the border mission if it's still up and running. Is 6 months enough time for you to get your lead investor role up and running to go out and identify the appropriate property to buy first?
Be tight, but it's definitely doable.
Okay, let me ask the question. What happens if you get that property up and running and we're at that 6 month mark and the governor says, hey, John, guess what? You got an all expense paid trip down to the border again. Come on down and join us. What do you do? I mean, are you able to step away from owning and operating that business?
Yes, it's absolutely doable. To have somebody else manage the property while I'm gone. By that point, I should have management set up, and I will still be actively involved in making sure the property is functioning properly, but I shouldn't have as much of an active role in it other than making sure the operation is flowing properly.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, the majority of the lead investors that I speak to on this radio show every Tuesday tell me the exact same thing. They don't need to be at their property 24/7. They don't go out and do the leasing. They don't go out and show the units. They don't go out and pick up the trash. They don't do any of that stuff. What they operate as is an asset manager. So that means if they need to go to the property, they will. But if they don't have to go to the property, they don't need to go to the property because it's all about time management. It's all about getting your time back, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not trying to create a job for myself. I'm trying to retire myself. I don't want to work until I'm 55, 65. I want to enjoy what life has to offer.
So the education piece is paramount. I agree with you. I mean, you did have to do a data dump in your brain because the Army didn't have you go into harm's way to go out and work on their housing problem. The Army had you go into harm's way to work on other things that were important to the Army. So I get that. So rekindling that education, that is huge. That is smart. So why is it that an 18-year-old, almost 19-year-old, listens to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show and then makes a decision to not only go to a free workshop but drag his dad along? What was going on in your mind?
Oh, I was trying to find a path forward. That was really what it was. I was thinking of the future. I was just starting college. Already hated college. Wasn't even finishing my first semester up. It was honestly just a big joke. So going through, I needed to find something else to do. So as I'm sitting down at Lifestyles during their free workshop, I'm skeptical. I'm going to listen to what they have to say. And they showed me numbers that I can understand. They show me a path forward, actual numbers, and a feasible way to work through what my problem was, and that was my future retirement plans. So I was like, okay, this is probably the best snake oil salesman I've ever heard. So I was like, all right, I'll pay in. I'll go to your financial freedom program. And then I drug you along to see the free workshop before I paid for it, because I wanted to see if you were on board too. I remember you.
I was more skeptical than you were. My attitude was, you know what? I don't want to kill your dreams, so I'll go ahead and sign up too. At least you would get the benefit of the family membership discount. It wouldn't cost you as much. And then when we went to that 2-day financial freedom seminar, I was going to blow holes in all their information, and we would kill that desire that way. Remember me talking to you about that after the fact?
Oh, yeah, no, I remember you couldn't make it to the first 2-day seminar, so I drove up to Austin without you to go see what it was all about.
That's
and
right.
I kept calling you both nights saying how great this was, and you're like, no, it's not. I'm like, just go. Just go. There's going to be one next month.
And what happened?
We wound up signing as preferred investors.
Yeah, because I could not blow holes in any of the information was solid, was it not?
It sold me, so, and I like my money, so I don't like easily separating myself from it without good cause.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you work very hard for your money. As a matter of fact, you have done some remarkable things with money. Now, when you joined Lifestyles Unlimited at the age of 18, almost 19 years of age, how much money did you have socked away for real estate investing?
For investing, I had about $15,000.
$15,000. Okay. Were you able to get into an investment with $15,000?
Not just a investment, 3.
You were able to get into 3 different investments with just $15,000. How did you do that?
My boyish charm. No.
Use it if you got it, right?
Yeah, I know. Use it if you got it. No. So actually found some deals, saw if they would take me for a under the limit deal. They said yes. So I put in the little amount of money that I did just to get started. Those deals sat around for 4 years, 4 years, somewhere around in that ballpark. They're all equity capture deals, so I didn't really make any cash flow off it while I was doing it. But the whole time I was in college anyway, and doing ROTC and National Guard stuff. So it didn't really matter. It was just out of my money that I'm just going to see when I basically get out of college. So once that rolled around, those deals sold, and all of them doubled my money, more than actually. So I'm not disappointed with my choice.
You turned 15 grand into 30 grand, and you did it the entire time you were going to college. So while everybody's out partying and drinking and stuff, you're actually investing in real estate and sharpening your mind, because you're actually going to class and doing the things you're supposed to do. And you're doing ROTC stuff, which is, to be honest with the audience, ROTC is like being a member of a varsity sport team, because of the time requirements are just as dynamic as being a NC2A, a football player. I mean, I think that's a true statement, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It was like having a full-time job while going to school, especially when they give you more work.
Yeah. So now you've got $30,000. You're out of college. You finally get a job. You're earning money. What are you doing with the money that you're earning in the job?
Dashing it away. Got sent on orders again, so got to save up more money, and came back, and yeah.
Okay, so you were doing something called chunking, were you not?
Absolutely.
Okay, so chunking for the audience is exactly what Jonathon described. The way Jonathon built his war chest up was he went out and earned money, because that was the only way you knew how to make money, right? At that point, you had to go out and trade time for money, correct?
Oh, a lot of time for a little money, but yes.
Okay, but that's what you do when you're 20-something years of age. But instead of you going out and buying boats and jet skis, and I really know you wanted to buy jet skis, you didn't buy the you didn't buy the jet skis. You put the money into savings, and you continued to build up that war chest, correct?
Correct.
So now that you're on the backside of a deployment, and I know you've been saving up money the entire time you've been away from home, what does your war chest look like right now? How much actual cash are you working with?
About $90,000.
So you have $90,000 liquid. What's going on in that investment account? You've got $80,000 injected into that apartment community up in Denton, Texas. When do you anticipate getting that money back? Maybe in about a year?
About a year and a half.
Okay, and you anticipate getting back the original $80,000 plus $80,000 in profit?
More than, but yes, as a minimum, yes.
Okay, so the bottom line is you're working with essentially $250,000 to get yourself going forward. Is $250,000 enough money for you to buy your first and second and possibly your third deal?
Yes, it is.
Was it worth all the sacrifice, all the hardship, all the listening to the naysayers to get to this point right now, Jonathon?
Oh, it's going to be a big slap in their face because they all doubted me. And when I'm sitting on a beach in Tahiti sipping a Long Island iced tea while they're still working their 9 to 5, I'm going to be the happiest person in the world.
And you're not going to be working that 9 to 5, are you?
Nope. I'm going to open my computer for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and that's about it.
Take care of the basic stuff that you need to actually focus on, and then let the members of your team do the day-to-day tactical operation on your properties, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not there to micromanage anything. I hire the right people to run the right property.
Now, I was talking with Don. He's one of the multifamily mentors. He's actually up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I just casually said, Don, What are lead investors making in cash flow right now per property? You want to know what he told me?
What did he tell you?
He said on average what he's seeing is that lead investors are making about $10,000 per month in cash flow per property. And I said, well, how many properties do a lot of these guys have? And you know what he asked? You know what he said?
One?
No, he said 3 to 5. 3 to 5. So now that we have that data, can you live off of $30,000 to $50,000 a month in passive income?
It's going to be rough, but I think I could do it.
You think you could pull that off? I mean, you're not even going to be 30 years of age when you're going to be making this kind of money. Are you going to be able to handle it?
It's going to be rough. It'll might break my heart, but I think I can push through.
I think you can too, John. I mean, here's the beautiful thing. We have met so many other young men and women your age group that are doing exactly the same thing that you're about ready to do. I mean, you would be doing it right now if it weren't for your military service obligation. So I do have to say thank you so much for doing what you've done and for your willingness to go in harm's way to protect the freedoms that the rest of us Americans, well, we enjoy. And I'm just super excited that you have built up such a war chest. I mean, you started with very little money, and over a period of about 5 to 6 years, you've essentially built up a war chest worth $250,000, and you're going to use that war chest to change your life dramatically. I'm really excited to watch the results.
I'm excited to see the results.
Well, there you have it, folks. My son, Jonathon Gordon, he's back from deployment. He is focused, laser focused on getting the deal done. As a matter of fact, he'll be getting the deal done fairly soon. If you want to figure out how he and I are doing it, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.